Hey, brother, what's up?
Well, we are embarking on one of our infamous rack and stack days, starting off with a great guest, Nathan Woody, who would like to be referred to as Woody.
I don't. That's easy because I don't have to call him. I don't have to try to confuse between is it Nathan Woody or Woody Nathan, right?
That's right. That's right. And plus, I have a feeling that we're going to have a friend in him. I'm sorry. That was a Toy Story joke. I had to go for it.
That was good. That was so bad that it was good.
I know, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I actually picked up on it a second after you said it, and I don't watch Toy Story, but that's still pretty good. Nicely done. So yeah, another rack and stack again today. So that's what we do. And yeah, Nathan Woody's going to be fun. He's a business coach kind of guy, and we sort of gravitate to those guys sometimes. We like those kind of folks, and he's a good friends of our mutual friends, Adam and Mason and Shannon and Blake and all the folks at True Metals and all those folks down in beautiful Knoxville. So I'm really going to try to be nice to Woody because I'm trying to horn myself into a good cigar bar spot in Knoxville when I'm down there in April. So there's another reason for doing this outside of just a great guest.
All right.
Ulterior motion. Hey, let's go talk to Woody. What do you think?
I think Woody's going to be a lot better than Wesley. Let's go for that.
Well, I don't know. You're pretty darn good, buddy. But yeah,
right.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get to him.
Let's do it. Woody, what's up, brother?
What's up, Randy? How are you?
Just living the dream here in beautiful Naples, Florida, just a little bit south of you. How's things in beautiful Knoxville?
Honestly, so nice. I just got back inside from walking around downtown for lunch. In fact, I think the first time we talked, I was walking. Walking.
You were
profession, so.
I know exactly. I do a lot of walking. I've had customers that I've talked to, and they said, "I talked to you 3 times this week, and all 3 times you were walking." I said, "That's all I do. I just walk."
But yeah, I went and picked up my lunch and then got outside, and I usually sit down for lunch, but it was so nice. I was like, I'm just going to keep walking. And if you walk about, 300 feet out our office doors, like you can look over the Tennessee River, and it's just beautiful. So, yeah.
Nice.
Also,
nice.
Your intro is so cool. I was like sitting here watching it, and then we appeared. I'm like, man, I got to level up in the podcasting I'm doing over here.
Well, I just watched your show the other day with Simon, I think, or no, has that dropped? Yeah, I watched it with you and Mason, I think, not too long ago, and very, very good, and love what you're doing. So, anyways, Nathan Woody, Knoxville, Tennessee, and I believe you're. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Because I'm trying to look at my phone here because I'm a little technologically challenged this morning as we talked. I couldn't get on my regular computer, so I'm winging it from the office, but on my iPad. So give us the little who is Woody and what you do, and we'll chat about life and business and motivation and whatever else we feel like.
Sounds great. So yeah, Nathan Woody, go by Woody. Man, ever since high school, and I worked for Chick-fil-A as my first job. And everybody started calling me Woody, and it kind of just stuck throughout the years. So, yeah, my experience, man, started out like super young, Chick-fil-A, managing stores for the Lord. Just kidding.
There you go.
And so managed stores for a long, long time. Got the opportunity to travel across the U.S., opening stores, helping train leadership teams, train teams, help implement, procedures and processes, systems, and teach how to have a great culture in their teams, which was a blast. I've also managed Scooter's Coffee Shops, which was a blast. Some local owners here in Knoxville helped launch the Knoxville market and involved in the Huntsville market, Alabama. And then I went and did the crazy thing of door-to-door sales.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that a little more. That's some adventure on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, never thought I would do that, but got to join a team of a roofing company here in Knoxville called Mighty Dog Roofing, and was with them for a short 15 months. I sold $3.2 million in roofing. So just got good at that quick, I suppose, and found out I was enjoying it. but then got connected with where I'm at now, which is the Knowledge Gap Company. And we are a business consulting company. We do like consulting, coaching here in Knoxville, and honestly, kind of all across the Eastern US so far, which is just a blast. Oh, nice. You got our website up here too.
Look at that. That Wes does something off camera besides just taking a nap, you know?
We just got this
Pretty much.
website rebuilt. It went from Joe Ignis, he's the owner here at Knowledge Gap, and we just launched this one. So if you see anything while you're looking around there, Wes, feel free to just shoot me a message and be like, "Hey, fix that." So we're in progress. Looks great though. So yeah, that's who we are. We focus on revenue growth, right? So that's like our main focus. We started out as a branding and marketing company, hence this beautiful little space that I'm podcasting in, and found out pretty quickly that people didn't necessarily need a podcast, or they didn't necessarily need better branding or marketing. They just needed to fix their sales process, and they needed to actually go and generate leads themselves. So we pivoted and realized now that we've worked with like 75 plus companies across Knoxville and surrounding areas that, you know, that's what people thrive in. That's what people need to refocus on and sometimes rework their structure and build different processes and systems into their business that helps them actually grow and scale. So yeah, hopefully, did that answer your question? Hopefully it did.
That did. It is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting the roundabout route you took from Chick-fil-A to coffee, which we talked the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we chatted on the phone for an hour. You'd asked if I knew Scooters, and I do. I've had coffee at Scooters before. There's very seldom do I drive by a coffee place, whatever the place is, including Speedway gas station, that has coffee up until about 3 in the afternoon that I don't partake.
Yeah,
I'm a lover of coffee. Did you?
Yeah, the owners are just awesome people. Greg and Stacy Garing, and they own a couple here in Knoxville, and we go to church together. So we got connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're just good people. You know, I seem to have this trend where I just am attracted to good people, and so that's kind of
that's a good way to go. That's a good way to go. So interesting that with the bulk of your business consulting revolves around building better sales processes. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think I love leadership focused things, and so I think it initially starts where leadership starts, and that's building a team, right, and growing yourself. Mm-hmm. And so that's usually where my focus is like in the very beginning of working with someone, it's figuring out, okay, why do you do what you do, right? What is your mission? What is your vision? And what are your values? Because most of the time businesses don't, I shouldn't say businesses, I should say owners, which results in businesses, but owners don't have that written down and spelled out and ready for their team to understand. And so then they go to this process and they try to scale, they try to grow, they try to recruit and hire. And then the team doesn't understand what the mission is, right? And so then turnover's high and they don't retain, you know, customers, and they get frustrated because then it's them against their employees. There's not this on thing. So I love to dig into that, you know, early on in working with businesses. That's what I'm super passionate about. And then, yeah, the sales process stuff is absolutely important. You have to understand, you know, your life cycle of a sale. You have to have that written out as well and determined. But I love the leadership stuff. That's what like gets me fired up.
Well, you know, and that's interesting because what you just said it made me think, and you're probably 100% right in all size of businesses, but I'm sure especially with the small, maybe solopreneurs that maybe are expanding out and they're getting some traction. Yeah. I don't want to say they're being successful and growing in spite of themselves, but maybe they are to a certain degree, right? It's just sort of happening because they're good at what they do. But like you said, when you decide to scale, it's hard to hire people that fit the personality of your business, because your business has a personality, right? And it has to be you. You have to develop as the owner that personality, that culture. And if you don't even know what it is, you end up, I think what you just said, you hire people that maybe they're great folks, but they're never going to fit your personality, or you won't fit their personality, and it's destined to probably fail before it starts, or not be as successful as it could be. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I've hired a lot of people. That's not like an arrogant thing. It's just the reality. I've hired a lot of people across my career, and I definitely made some not great hires. And as I reflect and think about some of the best hires that I've made and some of the, most successful leaders that I've developed, it's been focused around how clear my mission, vision, and values were, and how much I wrote those down and put them in front of someone. So yeah, I think it's just the foundation. It just really is. In fact, I just was in a wedding over the weekend. It's like I've been in so many weddings in my life. I thought I was past that phase. I'm like 30. Most of my friends are married, but I was in a wedding of a guy named Josiah Walker, and Josiah was a leader of mine back at Chick-fil-A, the Chick-fil-A that we started up here in Knoxville. And we had some hard conversations, Josiah and I did. Conversations of like, hey, we have to fix, Josiah has to fix, the way that he's leading, the way that he's holding himself in maturity. And he was an intern when he first started at the store. He was still in college, but we had some difficult conversations, and we didn't just speak them. We wrote them out. We understood what the agreed upon value was, the agreed upon mission. And when we both aligned on that, there was no frustration between Josiah and Woody. It was, hey, Woody's rooting for you. I'm pushing you to be your best because of what we agreed upon. And Josiah flourished. I mean, he ended up being intern to team member to captain to team leader or manager to eventually taking my spot as director when I left. And we maintained a great relationship. And now he works for Chick-fil-A corporate, and he's doing like his dream job. But I think that's just a great example of when you do align on those values in the beginning, it's no longer manager, leader against follower. It's leader, manager, follower agreeing on what they're going to accomplish together and what they agree upon. So it mitigates it mitigates most frustration with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as a business owner out there that's started up, having some success, making some things happen. Usually, I've always felt, and maybe not always the case, but they're pretty good at making this widget or performing this service or whatever it is that they're doing. But when it comes to scaling that and taking that to more and more people, what you just said, that's where that comes into play so much. That mission statement, if you will, that culture is written down and can be passed on, but how hard is it for the solopreneur or the small entrepreneur to recognize that I'm not in trouble, but I need help with this? Because I would think by nature, an entrepreneur is kind of all me. I'm single-minded. I know what I'm doing, my mission. It's probably hard for most entrepreneurs to step back and say, I need to get a hold of somebody like Woody because I don't really know what I'm doing here as well as I should. How does that whole thing play out? How hard is that for a guy or a gal to come to that conclusion?
I think most of the time somebody tries something and it doesn't work. Maybe a couple times, right? And then they come and find a coach to help them learn, right? Find somebody that actually can take a third-party perspective. They don't have the closeness effect of, hey, we're related, or we're good buddies, we're good friends. They're not going to be honest, but they usually realize after they've tried it and it hasn't worked, right? And it's easy as an entrepreneur to internalize things and think of things yourself and complete tasks yourself. But then when it comes time to scale, that all has to be written down and that all has to be spelled out very clearly for somebody else to understand, what their role is, what their tasks are, what the expectations are. So I think people usually learn and come from this. We get lucky sometimes. Sometimes folks are like, oh yeah, we're growing. And this is the beauty of referrals, right? Hey, we got lucky, we're growing, and you were referred to us from somebody who's a couple steps ahead of us. of somebody that needs to help us through this and help us develop and just coach along the way. And that's like the best thing that could happen, because then there's not as much frustration, and you can
Right.
just gain traction quickly.
Well, exactly, because now you're catching them in I'm not frustrated in a hateful mode. I just recognize that to grow, I need some help, and you came to my attention via referral. Versus, it's got to be the toughest for you when they're already like beating their head against a wall and everything's going wrong. They can't figure out. They're frustrated. They're mad. They want immediate turnaround to things that may not be immediate, right? So it's got to be easier easier for you when they come to you with that forethought, I guess.
Yeah, I would say I don't know, it's just a different situation, right? Because sometimes also if someone's frustrated and they come to us, they're like, they're actually going to take the direction, take the coaching and apply it really fast, because they want to fix what's happening, and they want to become better, and they recognize that need for growth. So I don't think either one is better or worse. I think it's just the reality of
The
where
reality,
people are
yeah.
experience, right?
Right. Well, an interesting thing I was thinking of, with that third person perspective that's on their team, on their side, rooting for them, that's always helpful, because I've always looked at it, and this may not make any sense at all, but it's the ugly baby syndrome, right? You can have a new baby and they just may not be that attractive, right? But it's yours. So you're tainted by the fact that this is the cutest little baby possibly in the world, right? Everybody else is going, I don't know what he's seeing. I mean, I get it, but wow, right? So I think it's hard to get past that when it's your baby. And that's my point. Your business is yours, and you think everything you've done, your mission's right. And I'm sure it's hard to get past that. And having that third person that's not just a family member or a neighbor or your buddy you go to the bar with, they might have some vested interest or some caring that you do well.
Yeah.
But you have a caring with some background and some professionalism and some abilities to bring to the table, as opposed to, well, I just think you ought to do this, which may be the exact opposite if you're not trained and with the background that you developed. So I think that's probably a real key I see.
Yeah, I think the fact that you're investing in something is different too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I love helping people, but my time is not free. And so when you're charging for your services and you're highly invested in someone's business, they're also just more likely to take your advice. And
Right.
We're not just making things up. I mean, I'm sitting in this seat because I've had the years of banging my head against the wall and being frustrated and figuring out why there are certain issues in businesses. And so yeah, I think that's just important.
It is, and there's not that there's always shortcuts, but there's got to be some shortcuts, because with your experience and with your partners, their experiences, a lot of the things that your clients are experiencing, it's not the first time it's ever been experienced by anybody in life, right? It's most things are repeatable, right? Most things have happened to everybody else you've dealt with, and they can't see it because of the forest for the trees, right? Because they're so ingrained. And I think that's the beauty of being able to step back and you look at it, analyze what's going on, and probably things that are incredibly cloudy to the business owner that's so close to it. It probably could be clear as day to you, literally overnight, right?
Yeah, so our process, like, we'll do a business analysis on the front end of starting to work with the client. So we'll take, hours and hours and hours and dive into P&L profitability, systems and processes, understanding what they do right now, understanding customer experience, what's the retention like with current customers, do they have monthly recurring revenue with customers. We'll dive into, we'll dive into lead flow analysis. So we really want to understand like every part of their business, so that we just have that broad overview. I forget why I was saying that, but I feel like you asked a question maybe in that answer.
No, you're spot on. Yeah.
So just understanding where business is at. And certainly it's so funny because people are like, well, what kind of businesses do you work with? And I'm like, yes, We get that answer because, we encourage people to find their ideal client, and we certainly have an ideal client, but we really you can analyze any business, and business principles align, whether you're a construction company selling roofing, or you're a real estate company growing a team of realtors, or we have an abrasives team we work with out of Ohio called 10X, and they sell industrial abrasives.
Okay, so all over the board.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I think you're right. There's all the tweaks and nuances, but business is business and sales is sales, right? To 80, that's probably 85% the same. And then you got all the nuances of your business, but a lot of it is, I don't want to say plug and play, but there's certain P&Ls and there's certain marketing strategies. It may vary from industry to industry, but the general concept is somewhat the same, right?
Yeah, and it's actually cool. I'm just like a big advocate of not pretending you know everything, because I certainly don't. But aligning yourself and surrounding yourself with people who are great resources is just something that I think is valuable and something we're doing really well. So we've got this like ecosystem almost of partners that we can connect people with. So hey, if P&L is just a mess and you're not netting at least 30%, we'll analyze it, we'll make some recommendations. But then hey, if your P&L is non-existent and you don't understand how to develop one, then hey, we've got some bookkeeping services that we'll recommend to you. Or hey, if your website is just not developed at all, or you need one built, or it looks terrible, then we certainly have vendors that we'll recommend. And I think it makes it a lot easier on a client to not just make all the recommendations, but not give them somewhere to go. So we really try to be like an all-inclusive service, and it doesn't mean it's all in-house, because you don't want to see me try to build a website.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like you don't want to see me try to run a whole podcast, because that's what we have Wes, right? The pro.
Right. That's why Wes is here.
That's why Wes is here. If he disappears, I'm in trouble. I'll just, I wouldn't know which next button to push. So
I was going to say, if he's not here when we're done, it's going to be a 6-hour podcast.
It will be. If he doesn't shut us off, we'll just keep going.
That's right.
So most of your clients are finding you through referrals and/or just your marketing efforts, or how do you because I'm kind of interested. I'm always interested in how people get business. I like marketing. I like, as we talked the other day, I think I'm a big believer in using the force multiplier effect of social media, things virtual like podcasting and a lot of those things. But how are you finding with your clients their best route to generating business? And it probably comes back to, how do you do that? What's your go-to?
Yeah, I think referrals is just like something that people don't get right really often. And it's easy, like, working with one person, and it's like everybody he meets, he's just so excited about how we've impacted his business. It's literally every week Tyler calls me up and says, hey, Woody, I've got this person for you to meet with. I told him what we're doing. And so they're just excited, right? I think that is our number one way that we get business here, is just through doing an excellent job with what we say we're going to do, and people calling us and, understanding whether it's the right fit.
That's always the key. And when you teach and work with your sales part of the business, because I like the whole referral scenario. Sure. I work big on referrals as well. Do you coach your people to boldly ask for referrals after you've earned the right to? Because I feel like you have to earn that right first, right? You can't just, in my case, tell them their first order of fasteners and then say, hey, give me 12 people to go call and tell them how great I am, because I haven't proved myself yet to you, right? But once you've hit a point where you've earned that right to ask for a referral, do you find that in the realm of acceptable, or should you wait for that particular satisfied fan to offer the referral up.
I'd actually push back on what you said there a little bit, because
Okay.
think about the psychology of the process when someone's buying from you. Well, let me ask you a pre-qualifying question. Are you confident that you are the best option for their service, right? Providing fasteners.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so there should be no question on whether you're going to deliver on those results. And so if the person is writing you a check or however you bill, if they're deciding to work with you, they're most excited about that experience right then when they're giving you money and agreeing to work with you. So they're most likely to tell other people because they're excited, right?
Love it.
When I used to sell roofs, I'd sit at a dining room table, and they'd be writing me a $12,000 deposit on their roof, and I'd ask them for referrals. No work was done. I probably climbed the roof and gave it an inspection, and they enjoyed the inspection and decided to use me. No work was completed, but they're most excited and most bought in to helping you when they're handing you a check. And so
that's a good point.
I asked people just yesterday, started working with a new company, and he's sitting there at the table, and I was kind of teaching him how to ask for referrals as I asked for mine. And he hasn't written me a check yet. We start doing his analysis, I think, next week. But I went ahead and asked him for referrals, and he was excited to give them. I guess that would be my pushback is psychologically, people are most excited early on when they're giving you the check, and they want to help you. I don't think it's bad to follow up for referrals is great too, right?
Right.
But there's also a very specific way to ask for referrals, in my opinion, that's just worked really well.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think you're right. That people are at that honeymoon stage at the very beginning, right? They're excited. They're happy you're there. They've obviously decided to give you an order, whatever that looks like. They've done that because they're confident in you, right? And the confidence level is probably never higher than at that point. So it makes a lot of sense. And, it's the power of referrals. It makes me think of a story once. I had a customer, and I was opening up a new territory that I didn't really know a lot of people to go call on, to go ask for some business, to go present what I do. And so I asked the customer, I remember one day, do you know anybody up in this area? He says, I got 5 or 6 people I could put you in touch with. I said, man, if you could give me some names and numbers, maybe even let them know. And all of a sudden he's dialing the phone. I'm thinking that's kind of odd that we're in the middle of a conversation and he's dialing the phone, but whatever. And all of a sudden he goes, hey, he says, I got this guy that sells me fasteners and some other products, and he's looking to do some business up in your part of the world, and I think you should know him. He'd do a great job for you. And he says, I forget the name, but this is Bill, and he hands me the phone. It's like, literally was totally unprepared for that, right? But it doesn't get any better than that, right? If
everyone would do that, that's beautiful. What we found, like asking for referrals, is sometimes it's tough to call referrals because you just don't know them, right? And so mentally you're like, I don't want to call them, I don't know. But when you ask for referrals, just ask for that nugget of information that you need, right? So, I think you actually did that when you reached out to me because Mason connected us.
Right.
And if I were connecting you with someone, I would tell you something that I love about that person. So when you call them and say, oh, hey, Jerry, Woody said that you're the, whatever, insert the exciting thing. You're the best at this. And so you already have that initial kind of rapport built with them. And then at that point, who cares if they buy or not? You're just developing a relationship and encouraging someone. So then you get to pick up the phone and, call your 10 referrals for the week. And you just get to call and encourage 10 people. And it certainly will result, Lord willing, in some business, but that's not the motive behind it. So that's something I like to do.
Oh, no, exactly. I think you can never know enough good people, right? And like you said, getting that referral, and you're exactly right. And to take that a step further, I asked Mason to introduce you and I.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have Samuel on before long on the podcast. And the first thing I did is ask you if I thought, I don't even know what I asked you. You think he'd be a good guest? You think he'd be interested? Whatever it was I asked you. And you're right. All I really wanted from you was, I didn't want to use that unless you said it was okay.
Sure.
But I love being able to use your name with Samuel, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, I talked to Woody and he said you'd be a great guest. And I know you know Mason. And, you know, it all comes back to, like you said, big difference versus my just reaching out to this guy and just saying, hey, I saw your name and I know we follow each other on social media a little bit. And geez, would you like to come on my show, right? He still might have said yes.
He probably would. But
Probably. But I think there's a real, when you can personalize that with, I don't want to call it name dropping, but I guess it is a little bit. It's like using the people you know, and there's nothing wrong with, I've met so many people, so many guests that I've had on the podcast by asking for referrals. And I love them where they say, hey, you know what, Randy, you ought to really get a hold of X.
Right.
I think they'd be a great guest on your show. I mean, those are great because then, like you said, you can call them and say, hey, Woody, you know, Mason said you'd be a great guest. Love to chat about it. What do you think? Right.
Yeah.
It's as easy as that sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. It's just about relationship building.
It is. And that's what we do every day, right? We build a relationship regardless, all ends of the business. So as we kind of wind down, because you've been great with your time, I'm going to see you in Knoxville in April. I'm going to try to see you when I'm in town for the what am I coming to? Oh, the National Frame Builders Association. We got our annual conference and expo there, and I'll probably get out and see Mason and Adam and Blake and the boys prior to. But you know, I'm going to go shopping at. I think I get this right. Not shopping. I'm not going to buy. Well, I might buy something. But is it Mass General Store? Is that the one right down the square kind of area?
Right.
I don't know if it's on the square, but it's,
I could walk there from the office. It's like half.
I think when we talked the other day, you were not very far from there.
I was right next to it when we chatted on the phone.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But
is that what I heard?
What's that?
Are you a cigar guy?
I am.
I mean, that's what we need to do when you're in town. We'll go get a good cigar. There's some places to go in Knoxville here.
Oh, I'm already hooked. I think you and I and Mason and Adam and
yes,
we should probably. I don't know if Blake's a cigar guy or not, but
he is.
I'm not an aficionado. Okay, I'm not an aficionado from a standpoint that I went with a good customer of mine up in the Detroit suburbs here a few weeks ago, and he's an aficionado. And we went to the cigar bar. It's his bar. He says, I'm buying cigars with my cigar bar. So we go in the big humidor room, right? And he goes, pick out what you want. And I'm going, okay, I'm going to go to the little bit. Number one, if you're offering to buy, I'm not one of these guys that's going to go to the expensive stuff. That's not me, right? But secondarily, I said, look, if we're talking wine, I'm going to go a little bit better because I do know my wines a little bit. Okay. Cigars.
You can teach me there.
Well, that's what we'll do. By Dr. Pepper, see, Wes knows. That's my. There's a funny word. There's a secret about Dr. Pepper. That's how I typically refer to wine sometimes. But so here's what we'll do. We'll go. You select the cigars. I'll select the wine, and we're in.
That's good. Yeah, I'm good for that.
Collaboration at its best, right?
Yeah, I'm good for that.
I'll get in a day early now. I've already planned. I'm going to get in. I always get in a day early anyway, so we'll stay in touch, and that'll be my first night in town. We'll go hang out at a good cigar bar. So, man, I'm in. So as we appreciate you being on, and as we sort of finish up, there's always a well-known should ask question thing. Wes brought this up. What do you wish I would have asked today, or what do you wish people just in general would ask you about what you do that maybe they just never asked? Or if nothing else, give us your final, this is why you got to talk to Woody about building business together. Maybe we could just go there.
Yeah. I think some people I think a lot of business owners listen to my podcast, and I probably have a lot of friends that are business owners just in front of that crowd a lot. And I think business owners are two things. One, afraid to ask and have conversations because they feel like they don't need what we do. But I'm a big believer that everybody needs a coach in life, right? So I think that would be my biggest encouragement. Or maybe like a should ask question is, hey, do I need a coach? And the answer is yes. So I'll just spoil that for, people that ask that question. But then two, taking a really broad look at their life and business and saying, what are my biggest growth opportunities? And I think when you do that with someone, whether that person is me and I would love to be that person because I love helping and serving people, or it's somebody else, I think when you take a step back and say, hey, what are my biggest areas for growth, whether that be personally, professionally, spiritually, in their family, whatever that looks like, I just think everybody needs to ask that question.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's a great question and great advice. Well, Woody, I'm sure we'll talk again maybe, but before April, I hope. But I'm gonna, before we do the next podcast, I'm going to tell Wes I need a minute because I got to get it in my calendar so I don't forget to get in town. I'm just gonna put Woody Cigar. That's all I'm putting.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Done. It's a done deal. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. What's that, buddy? I didn't hear that last.
Shoot me the text. Tell me the date so I'm there.
I'll do it. I'll get it to you. And then I'll put in 10 reminders so we don't forget.
Sounds good, baby.
All right, buddy. Hey, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Yep. See you next time.
All right, you got it. Cheers. All right. It's good advice from my friend Woody from beautiful Knoxville. And I'm not even know where to go right now because I'm thinking about a cigar bar now. But anyways, I digress. If you want to get a hold of him, check him out. I can tell you, he was referred to me by some of my good friends at True Metal Supply in Knoxville, and I got to know him just a little bit. Great guy, and I highly recommend that you reach out to them. He's very spot on. We all need coaches. We all need people in our background, in our corner, to help us in areas that we don't see or don't know or don't even know we don't know, right? So it's important. So do it. Hope you enjoyed today, and we're going to get out of here for now. But I want to tell you probably three things. You know what they are. Love what you do and do what you love. That's what we're doing right now. You get one go around here on good old planet Earth, so live it, love it, own it, and go make today your best day ever. Till tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.